On this edition of Tacoma Report, we'll find out how Tacoma Public Utilities plans for droughts, get a recap of this year's Tweed Ride, and learn about a new art project in the city. Stay tuned. Welcome to this edition of Tacoma Report. I'm Anita Gallagher. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. To build on the work already completed, the city's Public Works Department recently started ADA parking and sidewalk improvements at 4 city-owned facilities. The work is being done as part of the ADA Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan.
So the City of Tacoma is a Title II agency. We're a state and local government, so we have to comply with that portion of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And what that means is we have to perform a self-evaluation and transition plan for the entire city. We have to look at all of our programs, services, and activities to make sure that there are no barriers for people with disabilities.
The internal areas of these facilities have already been upgraded to current ADA standards. These external upgrades represent the next phase of improvements. This project is an important step for the city to increase accessibility for all residents.
The ADA upgrades mean to the Tacoma Area Commission on Disabilities that all people in the community, regardless of disability, is able to participate in the arts community and be an active participant in the community.
To date, there have been 25 internal and 7 external building upgrades as part of the ADA Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan. No matter where you're walking, pedestrians are encouraged to get there safely. Pedestrians have the right-of-way when using a crosswalk at an intersection, but the Tacoma Police Department is concerned with the amount of auto versus pedestrian accidents that occur when people decide to cross the street at other locations.
Typically what I've seen is it's a matter of people being creatures of habit and wanting to go the most direct route to wherever they're going. For example, if they're going to work, rather than walk an extra 100 yards to go use the crosswalk and get to work, they'll cross directly across the arterial to their work access point. I've seen this down at South Tacoma Way and M Street. We have crosswalks in place, we have signals in place that'll protect everybody, that will prevent the collision, and yet people just choose not to use them. If you cross, particularly these major arterials, if you're crossing a 5-lane arterial mid-block somewhere and you run out in front of a car and you get hit, it's going to be your fault, and if you survive, we're probably going to write you a ticket. And it doesn't end up well for the pedestrian. I just would really like to encourage folks to use the existing crosswalks. Take a little extra time.
The Tacoma Police Department hopes that people will use the crosswalks at intersections, but reminds drivers to look out for those people who decide to not cross the street at designated crosswalks. It has been an unprecedented year for mountain snowpack and lack of normal spring rainfall. Still, despite a statewide drought declaration, Tacoma Water reports that there are adequate water supplies to meet the needs of its customers in the coming months. Tacoma Water serves about 500,000 people directly and through partner utilities in South King County. The primary water source for Tacoma Water is the Green River in East King County. In anticipation of weather conditions, the reservoir behind Howard Hanson Dam was managed more aggressively this spring to capture more water. Additionally, Tacoma Water draws supplies from underground wells to meet heavier summer water demands. Those wells will be used more than normal because of the lower water forecasts. As always, Tacoma Water encourages customers to use water wisely. For tips on saving water at home, visit tacomawater.com/smart. After the break, we'll have information on an upcoming public hearing on the draft paid leave rules and regulations. Starting February 2016, employers will be required to provide up to 24 hours of paid leave annually to employees in Tacoma. The draft rules and regulations are available for review at the city's website. Community members are invited to provide feedback on June 25th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. in the Olympic Room of the Tacoma Public Library main branch, located at 1102 Tacoma Avenue South. Feedback can also be shared by email or phone. You may think of them as senior activity centers, but they are so much more. The Lighthouse and Beacon Senior Centers are focused on mind, body, and soul. They provide a place for adults over 50 to socialize, recreate, and improve and maintain their health. The centers provide wellness activities that stimulate the mind and exercise classes that focus on light stretching, balance, and staying active. The Senior Wellness Centers also offer fun monthly events like a spring fashion show and tea that happened last month, as well as area trips and dances. The centers are open Monday through Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and on Thursday and Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lunch is served Monday through Friday at noon. The second annual Tweed Ride represented fashions of the past and wrapped up Bike Month and Historic Preservation Month. Participants dressed in their finest tweed attire and enjoyed a ride that followed the historic streetcar routes and areas of newly improved bikeways. This 6.5-mile ride was anchored at the start and finish by two of Tacoma's most celebrated parks, Point Defiance and Wright Park. This event tapped into the overlapping interests of bicycling, history, and fashion, and is particularly fitting for Tacoma, where cycling history goes back as far as the 1890s. For more than 30 years, Tacoma has hosted the Northwest's biggest fireworks show over the Puget Sound as part of the annual Freedom Fair taking place on the 4th of July. The event is free to the public and features family-friendly activities including air shows, great food, vendors, exhibits, rides, and more. When we come back from the break, we'll find out about volunteer opportunities with the Tacoma Police Department. The Tacoma Police Department volunteer program began in December of 2005 and consists of Tacoma area residents who staff the information counters at each of the substations. Maria Lee has this story.
Tacoma Police Department volunteers receive no compensation for the work they perform, other than the sense of accomplishment they get for a job well done. They serve the community for 1 4-hour shift per week during normal Tacoma Police Department substation business hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday.
In our effort to be accessible to the community and have people feel comfortable contacting police, that's why we have volunteers at the desk assisting people as needed.
What are the qualifications? Volunteers must be at least 18 years of age, and they must also be courteous, patient, and have strong people skills.
I've been a volunteer for 20 years. The fun thing is that you get to help people. People in the community have problems, and you can listen to what their problems are and connect them with the officers that can help them.
Our current needs are primarily at sectors 3 and 4. So in the south end and east side, we do have a need for additional volunteers at those substations, and then as needed on special projects. So if someone has a special interest, would like to give back to the community, to learn about the police department, to feel connected to the community and the police department, this is an ideal opportunity to work closely with officers and command staff at the sector level.
Computer skills like email and word processing? Helpful, but not required. All applicants must be fingerprinted and undergo a background check. For Tacoma Report, I'm Maria Lee.
If you're interested in becoming a TPD volunteer, go to cityoftacoma.org/TPD volunteer for more information. Volunteering is part of the Tacoma culture. Since 1987, the City of Tacoma has honored more than 200 outstanding local volunteers through the City of Destiny Awards program. The program, led by a City Council-appointed City Events and Recognitions Committee, has evolved over the years and now takes place at Cheney Stadium. More than 180 attendees were present at this year's event, spotlighting Tacoma's top volunteers. These honorees all volunteered their time and energy without any financial compensation for their work over the last year to help Tacoma. Congratulations to this year's honorees. Volunteers planned another successful Relay for Life event this year. More than 130 teams and over 1,300 people took part in this year's event at Mount Tahoma High School. Artwork was also installed at the school this year to honor Dr. Gordy Klatt for his contribution to the fight against cancer. Dr. Klatt was known for his immeasurable love of humanity and community service. The American Cancer Society Relay for Life fundraiser, a 24-hour overnight community event, was started by Dr. Klatt more than 30 years ago when he walked and ran around the track at the University of Puget Sound. Whether you walk or drive, the Taste of Tacoma event is coming up. June 26th through the 28th, head down to Point Defiance Park for the 30th annual Taste of Tacoma. As part of the kickoff, local city officials will join the Curtis High School NJROTC in a color guard presentation. Tacoma native Rebecca Terry, lead vocalist of the band Baby and the Nobodies, will sing the national anthem at the bowl stage located near the park entrance. The festival will host over 40 local and regional restaurants and food booths, as well as over 100 craft vendors. After the break, we'll find out about the city's plans for Old City Hall. In an effort to save and restore the historic Old City Hall building at 625 Commerce Street, the City Council approved its purchase during the council meeting on June 2nd. This purchase will come from the Economic Development Special Revenue Fund. The specific funding source is Urban Development Action Grant dollars. The funds can only be used for things like historic preservation, property acquisition, rehabilitation of buildings, and other high-priority economic development projects that spur further revitalization of an area to generate revenue and jobs. With the city's purchase, the building's deteriorating state will be addressed and actions will be taken to preserve its historic elements. It will then be made available for private development in the future in a manner consistent with downtown development and historic district goals. Tacoma is becoming known for its quality museums. Most people know of the Museum of Glass, the Washington State History Museum, and LeMay, America's Car Museum. But as we see in this story from Tacoma Report's Lane Fickey, there's one unique museum that you may have walked right by and not even known it was there.
Unless you grew up before the 1970s, you probably don't know what this is. It's a rotary telephone. It's how we used to communicate. You don't see these rotary phones very often anymore, unless you go to the Tacoma Telephone Pioneer Museum. The museum is housed in the AT&T building on the corner of 9th and Fawcett in downtown Tacoma. Once inside, you can go back in time to see how the telephone industry has changed over the decades. The museum is run by the Tacoma chapter of the Telephone Pioneers of America. On display is everything from hand-cranked phones used in the early 1900s, operator stations, which is where many telephone calls used to be connected. There's telephone test equipment and old phone books. This Tacoma one is from 1913. There are 7 volunteers who man the museum and lead tours and answer questions. They've all retired from the industry, and they believe that it's important that this type of technology is not forgotten as time goes by.
If we don't do it, it's going to disappear. And that's one thing that's kind of important to us because the old technology is obsolete. There are no new people coming up through the technology. We each have different technologies in our background, so we pretty well can cover most of what's here. And we try to keep it running. We have the working office over on the side. And when we do tours, we try to explain everything that we know about the different pieces of equipment.
Each piece of equipment has a story to tell, as does the person who spent their career interacting with these communication devices.
When I first started with the telephone company, it was in 1962 at a cordboard very similar to this one. And because I'm rather short stature, they made me come up and see if I could reach from one end of the panels to the other. And they decided I could, so I got the job. We would be able to tell when calls were coming in, what prefix they were calling from, but not what telephone number.
Those involved with the Tacoma chapter of the Telephone Pioneer Museum enjoy the interactions they have with those who stop by and visit, especially when children are involved.
The kids are really impressed with trying to figure out how to dial a dial phone, a rotary dial phone. They can't figure it out. That's technology that's so far in the past. And they see the numbers there and they figure you got to push on the numbers somehow, but it doesn't work. So that's one of the things that I find is most interesting.
For Tacoma Report, I'm Lane Fickey.
The Tacoma Telephone Pioneer Museum is open on Thursdays from 8 a.m. to noon. It's free, and if you'd like a group tour, just call in advance and they'll set one up. Go to Instagram at shootthet_TAC and check out the online submissions for the Shoot the T, a photo contest created to showcase the beauty of Tacoma and to promote art and creativity in the City of Destiny. The winning contestant will receive the grand prize, but also the honor of capturing a photo that brings pride to Tacoma. This competition is a collaboration between Spaceworks incubated retailers ETC Tacoma, the Gallery of Ambition, and Tacoma Apparel Company, whose merchandise was carried at both retailers. For more information on voting and judging results, go to shootthet.com. You may see some other art popping up around the city. The call to artists for the city's Traffic Box Wrap project recently ended. It invited artists living within the city limits of Tacoma to submit qualifications to create an artwork design to be reproduced as a vinyl wrap and applied to traffic signal boxes throughout the city. Up to 10 artists will be selected, and each artist will be paid $1,000 for an approved final design and licensing rights. The city will then reproduce the final designs on multiple traffic signal and utility boxes.
It's so exciting to take something utilitarian, like traffic signal boxes, that are located all throughout the city of Tacoma and transform them into original works of art that are designed by Tacoma artists.
Well, that wraps up this installment of Tacoma Report. A great way to find out about the services the City of Tacoma has to offer is by going to cityoftacoma.org. Thanks for watching. I'm Anita Gallagher.